First game of the season, first victory post-game pod. Welcome back to Banditland Boulevard. Throw the W's up in the air if you can, because the Bandits went into Rochester on Saturday night and absolutely laid the smacketh down on the Rochester Knighthawks. Looked like a home game the whole time, Tony. Every single time, I would argue, we're going to get into this in a little bit, but when Kyle Buchanan scored his 600th point, that was when the crowd really erupted there in the fourth quarter. But just another home game on the Bandit schedule, beating the team that we usually beat. Surprising that it was by that much, considering they're only up by one going into the fourth quarter. But 15-7 victors over the Rochester Knighthawks. Tony, how are you feeling starting off the season 1-0 for the first time since after the COVID pandemic?
Yeah, you know what, dude? Like I said in the last pregame episode that we did, this defense and goaltending scheme is so freaking scary. Having Matt Spanger back, having Dawson come back for another year is just what I've explained before. Is that the not only are they got like the tallness, they have the most toughness defense out there, shutting down Connor Fields, shutting down Ryan Smith, Curtis Knight. I could go through the whole list. They absolutely made them look like their little brother for sure when they were playing tag. And boy, oh boy, and I didn't expect the Buffalo's defense to, hold them under 10 goals. But again, Matt Vince being himself, stopping 54 of 61 and just absolutely making it look so bad in their own house. And you know what? Like you said, it was like a Bandits home game. There was so much more orange and black than there was the Rochester Nighthawk fans. And believe me when I say this, that I've had hundreds of people texting me and saying, "You guys are loud and you represent well." Believe me when I say that.
Absolutely. You're
Banditland, you
damn
were
right.
awesome that night.
You are damn right. And in case I didn't introduce myself, this is Trevor Hauer. That's Tony LaMonica. We're just so high on the victory that we forgot to literally introduce ourselves. So sorry for the first time viewers, but yeah, we are the co-hosts of Banditland Boulevard, the one and only podcast directly about the Buffalo Bandits, which I love. Being this
I
unique
love it.
online, it's absolutely awesome, and especially coming after a big win early December, kicking off the 2025 season the right way. 15-7. I thought this had trap game written all over it. And what was funny about that game was 45 minutes in, it was. It was
Hmm.
totally a trap game through the first 45 minutes of the game. It was. And then
Yeah.
Tony, what was going on in that fourth quarter? I mean, I don't know if it was Johnny T saying anything to them or if it was just the Bandits out there on the field saying, all right, we let these guys hang around enough. Time to go put them away now and make this an embarrassing score at the end.
Well, you want to talk about conserving your inner strengths at the right moment at the right time, especially in the fourth quarter, especially scoring 8 goals out of your 15. I don't know if Johnny T spoke with the guys like after every commercial break, but the fact is that the guys I saw Weiss and I saw McKay literally like head bobbing, getting excited, like, let's go. This is our time to put the foot on the gas pedal. And you know what? That's exactly what they did. They came out and they stormed and they got 8 goals. And really, they just broke down the Rochester offense and they kept the ball alive, especially with all the loose balls and the chances that they've been getting extra, especially in the offensive zone. And their defense was just getting super tired, like we were explaining before. And that's what helped win the games. But again, like we were stating, the defense was holding their ground, and Matt Vince was like a wall. There's nothing that Rochester could do to beat him.
I do think part of it is Hutchcraft. Give him his credit for the first 45 minutes in the game.
I do.
He was playing on his head, especially in that first quarter. This could be a Bandits issue, but I don't know. It looked like a Nighthawks issue too. The power play for both
Hmm.
teams, it wasn't clicking. Bandits going 0 for 5, but they were really peppering the net, especially on that 5-on-3. They had a bunch of
Yeah.
opportunities, couple cross crease passes here and there. Nothing
Hmm.
would go in. It looked like Hutchcraft was almost like a brick wall in there. Nothing was
Yeah.
getting past him. He was playing on his head for 45 minutes. I guess the floodgates kind of opened up there in that fourth quarter, and that's kind of what happened in there in that situation. And two empty netters on top of that. Hutchcraft only giving up 13 goals. They Bandit scored the last two on the two empty nets from Dawson and Dylan Robinson. But it was, yeah, it was sort of one of those games where something had to give, and it was that first goal that happened in the fourth quarter that really set the tone for the rest of the game. The first goal from Kyle Buchanan. As soon as that happened with 11:55 remaining in the fourth, the Bandits really just put they really stepped on their throats and put them away. I feel like the Bandits let the Rochester Knighthawks hang around for too long, and then they're like, "Okay, little bro, sit down. Like this is like we gave you your fun in the second and then the third. It's time to sit down. Let the adults talk, and we're gonna put you over there. It's nap time for you guys. Let the adults have a conversation here." But yeah, I mean the Bandits had such an impressive fourth quarter, and that was the game changer. I mean, this is a game of runs. We know it is. Holding them to one goal through the first half of the game was phenomenal, but you knew that wasn't going to last. And that was why
Right.
I wanted the Bandits to really start peppering the net in that third quarter. But in this game of runs, like indoor lacrosse in the National Lacrosse League, all it took was one Nighthawk goal from Turner Evans to try to, turn the tide and swing this game around. They ended up taking a 5-4 lead with Reese scoring, Lanchberry scoring, Connor Fields scoring. That that fifth goal, only Connor Fields is scoring that goal. An underhand shot going through the 5 hole. Normally, Matt Vince doesn't give those up, but if you're going to give up a goal, it's going to be against Connor Fields. Only holding Connor Fields to 2 goals on the night, both happening in the third quarter. One was a rocket of a sidearm shot. I believe that was the sixth goal. And then
Mm.
the other one, like I said before, was that underhand sidearm that went through the 5 hole. Uh, he's easily the best player on that team, and that goes without saying. But talk about who had a hell of a night here for the Bandits. Number 91, congratulations to this guy, dude. 600 career point. I should say now 600 plus career points now for Kyle Buchanan, but a hat trick on the night for him. He was really the game changer in that fourth quarter to help the Bandits put their foot on their throats and win the game for the boys in the orange and black.
Yeah, especially with how you were saying about getting his hat trick in the fourth quarter alone, and also for the fact that he broke over 600 points, but he was a workhorse. The loose balls, every single opportunity that the rebounds were coming to him, he was finding ways to get to, winning those little battles to get more opportunities for the Buffalo Bandits offense to keep on clicking. And that's what exactly how you're going to beat teams this time, this season, because you've got the target on your back. You have to make sure, like, look, you got to set a statement. And that was the statement period, basically letting Rochester know if you want to beat the champs, you got to beat the champs. So they couldn't do it. Our offense is just completely sick. That's how good we are. It doesn't matter who's on the floor. It could be the line of Kyle, Chase, and Tahoka for all we know. You don't need Dane, you don't need Josh, or you don't need Chris Kluche out there doing all the work. These guys can do it too, just as good. And look what happened. Kyle Buchanan came out and he literally said, if this is going to be my final run, I'm going to make a run for the title again. And I want to get up there in the points too as well and be a contributor. And that's exactly what Kyle Buchanan did that night.
It was huge. The hat trick in the first game of the season. It usually takes a couple of games for a guy like Kyle Buchanan to really get his feet wet and start
Mhm.
scoring. But that first goal that he scored, the typical Buchanan dance around the crease. I'm faster than you, and I'm going to prove it. I'm going to dunk it right over his shoulder and
Exactly.
somehow not step in the crease. I mean, the dude is an absolute water bug. He is never changed, Kyle Buchanan. That's all I got to say. Never changed
So
91.
proud of you, dude.
And then I didn't realize this until after the game was over because Dane Smith does this way too many times in his career. He threw up a silent 11 points in his first game of the season. I didn't realize. I mean, I'm like, Dane, damn, like you had a pretty good night. I didn't realize it was double digits. I didn't realize it was 11 points. But Dane Smith, great night out of him. He's back to his usual self. Him, Josh Byrne. I mean, Kyle Buchanan leading the team in goals. Josh Byrne taking taking 4 penalty minutes. I mean, that was kind of out of character too. So we saw a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Connor Farrell jumping on loose balls, winning 16 out of 26 faceoffs.
Yep.
My only gripe, and it's really hard to find one in a 15-7 shellacking of your rival, but power plays, and that's going to come with time, Tony. That's going to absolutely come with time. The first game of the season, I'd be more concerned if I was a Rochester fan. Your power play was really clicking the week before against the
Hmm.
Desert Dogs, and then you show up against the reigning champs, aka also your rival down the 90, and you put up a solid 0 for 4 on the power play. So I'd be much more concerned if I was covering the Rochester Knighthawks and if I was a Knighthawks fan. The Bandits, give it time. The power play is going to come with time. They did run into a goalie that was playing on his out of his mind in the first half. I mean, the Nighthawks were lucky that Hutchcraft only held them to 4 goals, and the fact that it was only 4-1 in that first quarter. And can we talk about, or the first half? Can we talk about Matt Vince at his age, 42 years old, through the first 30 minutes of the ball game, gave up one, one goal. And the fact that he held him to under 10 again, I call that the Matt Vince special. When he holds teams under 10 goals, that is what Matt Vince does, and that is what he does best. And also, big shout out to Tehoka Nanticoke. If you picked number one to score the number one goal of the season, you'd be correct. So I forgot to mention the Tehoka Nanticoke drawing first
Yep.
blood for this young Bandit season. But I'm passing the wealth to everyone here, Tony. Where do you want to start? Dane Smith, Matt Vince, Tehoka Nanticoke, Kyle Buchanan. Where do you want to start, man? This is a great problem to have on this show.
Yeah, I would have to say, you know what? As much as I would love to say about our scoring, our defense itself just
Yeah.
made it that is the way it is because of how Paul Dawson, Steve Priolo, Justin Martin, Thomas Whitey coming in playing phenomenal from Rochester, now a Buffalo Bandit,
Oh, and
um,
he's psyched up to be a Bandit
and
too,
Matt
Tony.
Spanger back.
Yeah.
Having him gel and how well he was so comfortable and not have to do so much just to prove himself that he can come back and find the rhythm of the defense again is unbelievable. It felt like a little breakdown moment when they had their full goal, their I'm sorry, 4 goal run, but again they calmed down, took a deep breath, and they got back on the plan again, and basically shut them down under 10 goals. That's a huge victory for any defense and goaltender combination. But again, having Matt Spanger come back on his first game back and playing that aggressive already and showing that he can still maintain his defensive core, God bless him, man. That's what
Yeah.
I think. Is this defense is so legit. You're going to literally have to break them down and beat them up just to get a goal. The block shots continue to be strong. Protecting your goaltender is still to be strong, and getting to them loose balls when Vince makes that initial save, like you called it out, huge for the defensive to play.
Yes, and secondary scoring was massive too. Kluche,
Yes.
Buchanan, Dane, Nanticoke. I mean, it seemed like everybody got a piece of that pie,
Hmm.
except for Chase Fraser. Didn't get to see him on the goal scoring sheet, but he did make the assists a couple times. So look out for him against Ottawa. He's playing with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I bet you he wants to score more than
Of
anyone on
course.
that team. So
I think he wanted at least 2 or 3 that night too as well.
there were a couple of times where he hit a post in the first quarter. He uh he rang one off the goalie's mask in the second quarter. And then a few times
Yeah,
in the
that was
third,
brutal.
Riley Hutchcraft made some insane crease diving saves. He got robbed on the power play a couple times there in the first half. So the goals are going to come. The power play goals are going to come too. Chase
Yeah.
Fraser, he's got nothing to worry about. His first game of the season, he got 17 more of these plus playoffs because you're the Bandits and you make the playoffs every single year. You got
Hmm.
more of these. So I wouldn't sweat it, but I'd look out maybe for the Ottawa game for him to maybe score, put a few in the back of the net, just as a confidence boost for number 95.
Yeah, I think the Bandits are going to gel once they get, not too excessive on their passing. I mean, too many passes don't make you create more plays. It's a simple one pass, one shot. Boom, get the rebound, do it again. Reset the clock to make it 30 again, and then do it all over again. Make the goaltenders tired, make their defense get tired, and sooner or later those power play goals will come to the Bandit side. But again, kudos to the Rochester defense for keeping us at bay, especially under being a perfect 5-for-5 kill, as we were a perfect 4-for-4 kill against theirs. But again, like you said, the power play goals will come, so we just have to be patient and wait.
I also like that you mentioned Thomas Whitty too. I mean, this was his first game back
Yeah,
facing against his old team, and it was the
former
very
team.
first game of the season for the Bandits, and he so happened to get signed by his rivals down the 90, and then
Yep,
you got to imagine the nerves going through his body. His first game on another team is against his old team in their arena. But
yep.
huge credit to him for stepping up in that role, playing with Paul Dawson. That dude looked phenomenal out there. Laying body checks. He really played fearless, especially in that second half, and he blocked a couple shots there in the first half too. So that was pretty big. Um, but big shout out to the fan base too that showed up. I feel like they made him really feel welcome as a Bandit. I remember seeing the video of him walking through the tunnel and he was just hyping up the crowd too. So big shout out to the Bandit fans that made the trip down the 90. It looked like the lake effect stuff was yeah, big shout out to you, Tony. It looked like the lake effect stuff knew that there was a Bandits game going on, and it started to rain there during the week, so it made the drive to Rochester so much easier for Bandit fans to get down there. So credit
Yeah.
to Mother Nature there too. But I mean, it looked like a home game, especially in that second half when the Bandits were buzzing in that fourth quarter. Every time they
Mhm.
scored, me producing the game on the radio, we have the game on CW 23, but when Gertler's in our ears, he's about 45 seconds faster. And we heard the ball, or we obviously heard the crowd go nuts over something. Half the time, I'm waiting for the Rochester goal horn to go off. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. The Bandit fans made the trip. It sounds like a home game. Every time they scored, Gertler would say they score. And I'm just waiting for the horn to go off. I'm like, oh, no, we must have just scored. So shout out to them for making it seem like another game at the KeyBank Center, another night in Banditland. Because of this fan base, there are very limited games on the road that feel like true road games. If you go to Colorado, that's going to feel like a road game. If you go to
Yep.
Saskatchewan, Calgary, that's probably going to feel like a road game.
Mhm.
But I mean, Philadelphia, Rochester, Toronto, Nova Scotia, they all feel like Bandit land. And
Yeah.
huge shout out to them because for the boys on the schedule, it feels like they have 13 out of their 18 games are probably home games when the rest of the league only gets 9 true home games. So that's a big shout out to our fan base.
Yeah, we can't thank you guys enough for making the journey out to Rochester, especially with the high winds that we had, and especially with the fog too, as well. I'm very happy that everybody made it safe and to represent the Buffalo Bandits as well. Um, meant like names mentioned, I'd have to say is like Tony Fela, Dennis
The
Gore, Brian
GOAT. Yep.
Kuna, you guys, Herb before. We can't thank you guys enough for getting people out there to watch and support this team, and it's just because that we love this team so much, and we will go to the ends of each side of the country if we have to, just to watch these guys in live, and to represent Banditland as well. So kudos to you guys
I think
for
that
making
Brian
the
Kuna
journey out
will
there,
go to,
and
and
guys, I really appreciate that helping me out, helping the box heads out with really getting underneath uh, Hutchcraft's name and skin that we really took him out of his game.
we could
After
hear
the
that
third
on the
quarter and the
broadcast too.
fourth, we were just really hammering him down with the "you suck" chants, and a lot
Yeah.
of people didn't appreciate it. But guess what? You're at a sporting event. That's what we do best. We get rowdy.
Yeah. And also, you go back and watch that on CW 23. The "you suck" chants were loud and clear. And for the Rochester fans that don't like it, how about you stop sucking then? How does that sound? If you don't want me to tell you that you suck, how about you stop sucking? Like
That
that's
too.
another thing right there. But I think you mentioned Brian Kuna. I think he would go to a game in Antarctica if there was a
He's
game down
he
there.
he
I mean,
goes anywhere.
that dude
That's
is
crazy.
absolutely
He just
loyal.
he's going to every away game this year. He
Yeah, I
told
love
me
that.
that
And
too.
not only that, he's coordinating it in that Facebook group too. He's
Yep.
literally so huge shout outs to Brian. I see him all the time wearing his Johnny T jersey, walking around cobblestone and stuff too after games. The dude is, yeah, he's a great conversation to have with that guy. And
Yes, he
if you have
is.
any questions about road games like Rochester or any of the other ones coming up, dude, talk to him.
Yeah. If he goes to Albany, he's going to go to Toronto up in Hamilton. Definitely
Mississauga,
Philadelphia
Tony,
trip
you
is
can't
going to be
forget that.
intact. Guys, if you want to, he's got like the party van to go down there. If you guys want to join him and make contact,
Awesome.
look for him on Facebook.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. You can't miss him. He's got the orange Johnny T jersey on with the black cowboy hat on, so can't
Absolutely
miss him.
can't miss that.
You cannot miss him. And then also going back into this game, looking at
Sure.
shots on goal, Josh Byrne with 12. That was big. To Connor Fields is 16. The fact that Matt Vince could hold Connor Fields to only 2 goals on
Yeah.
16 shots, I'd call that a win. We talk about not shutting him down, but limiting him. We limited him and they won by 8 goals. Listen to us. We know what we're talking about. When you limit their stars, you win by a lot. Also, Matt Vince steering away 54 shots, being at age 42 as well, facing, he faced 61 shots. The Bandits got 61 shots as well. Shots on goal were tied. Uh, Both of them were 0 for on the power play. And Riley Hutchcraft happened to save 46. Matt Vince happened to stop 54. The reason why you won this game, you had more possessions,
Yep.
better opportunities to finish. You weren't
Yes.
finishing well special teams, but you did 100% perfect on penalty kill. Uh, Nothing going on the power play, but the 5-on-5 game was absolutely nuts. And that's the reason why you won. You had big guys like Nick Weiss causing turnovers as well. Uh, all three sides of the floor, offense, defense, transition, four sides actually, with goaltending on top of that. That's four sides.
Yep.
It was a complete game. I know that's cliche as hell, but complete team win.
Yeah, you can't complain about that, especially with how you go in for your first game officially and then you make a statement. The way the Bandits are going to be playing this year is look, you're back-to-back champs. You got to represent that you are the best. So you go in there and you play as the best. You can't be like, oh yeah, well it's gonna be another 0-1 start like we did last year and the years prior. But again, the Bandits came out and they played their game. Basically, whatever Johnny T cooked up, that's exactly what they had to do, and they did. And they
Now the
followed the right directions from the best coach and the best player demand
yes,
in the National Lacrosse League.
and the question is, this is satire, of course, but the Bandits won the championship in 2023. They started off 0-1. The Bandits won the championship in 2024. They started off 0-1. Does this 1-0 start, Tony, at all? Does this ruin the Bandits' good luck of going back to the championship and winning the championship? Because the last time we started off 1-0, we went to the championship. Don't get me wrong, but they blew it down the stretch and they lost games 2 and 3 to Colorado. This is a
Mm.
joke, of course, but will there be any Bandit fans out there that say, we ruined it. We're supposed to start off 0-1 every single year. That guarantees us a championship. Do you think that has anything to do with anything, or is this just satire the way that it should be?
I think it's just satire the way it should be. But
Yeah, I love winning. I will
I don't
never
go by
argue with
I
winning.
don't really go by what is it, superstition stuff like that. I really
Yeah,
don't. It's how you represent yourself and how you push yourself to go and continue your winning trend. But if everyone goes back and says, "Well, it depends on how we do the very first game of the season," no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. You can't really think like, "Oh, every team goes 0-1, they're going to win a title." But the Bandits have proven that they've done it twice in a row. But again, like I said, I'm not worried.
yeah. The
One
Bandits also
game is
started
not
off.
going to prove anything. You
They
gotta
also
you gotta
started off.
get there to be there.
Yeah, they also started off 1-0 in 2008. They won the title in 2008 too. So,
There you
yeah,
go. I
I
like
remember
that better too.
seeing it on Twitter. It was somebody joking, of course, but they were like, "We started off 1-0. What are we doing? This is against the plan." I'm like, I knew there was going to be one because I was thinking about it in the back of my mind. I'm like, wow, this is the first time we went 1-0 since after COVID, and we didn't win that year. We started off 0-1 both years after that, and we won the championship back to back years. Game one is supposed to be getting your feet wet. The Bandits, I mean, I think looks like they didn't even miss a step. If I'm
No.
being honest, looks like they
Mm-mm.
were back in May, whatever it
Championship
was,
form.
May 18th, game two, when they're just piling in the goals and defense is looking good. The goaltending is looking great, calling up great plays. It looked like they didn't miss a step. And that's the number one thing I love about this team is if they get down, if, maybe it's the start of a new season or maybe it's coming out of a bye week. If they get down or if they lose a game, they do a great job at rebounding to make sure that they, A, don't lose back to back games, or B, find their way to claw back into those games and win. And
Mm.
it's been this way for years now, Tony. Even probably since Josh Burton got drafted in 2017, they've been playing with a chip on their shoulder like that. Maybe not so much 2018 when they were kind of deciding what their identity was. I think they missed the playoffs that year, but probably since 2019, they've been down in games, but they've truly never been out.
Right. Yeah, I think what they do is that's a good motivation for them is to keep pushing themselves to succeed and be better. Um, say like if you take a tough loss or you get a couple losses under your belt and you're like, you know what?
We
I
had
could
a
do
few of
better
those
than this.
last
I
year.
could play a lot better than this. So
And
that
we had
again,
a
right
few of
there,
those.
you just have to keep pushing yourself to become great. And that's what Dane Smith and Josh Byrne together has become great leaders for this team. And with Steve Priolo being our captain and leading this defense now, our defense has been a far more dangerous group than we've ever seen them before. And again, going into Rochester this past week and showing them up and only keeping them on at 7, that's huge for our way of playing.
And the Bandits do it the right way. They don't overcomplicate things. They don't do
No,
any of that stuff. If they found their winning ways, they're gonna keep doing their mindset is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You see all these teams
right.
in the NHL, NFL, MLB, if they win a championship title or something, they want to overcomplicate. Oh, we have to get better by doing this, by doing this, by adding this, by adding this, by adding this. They're not continuing the true winning ways. The Bandits won the title in 2023. They won it in 2024. You know what they said? They said, screw it. We won it in 2023. Let's bring everyone back and run it
Mm,
back again. Try to make a team beat us. What happened in 2024? They got off to a slower start through the first half of the year, 5-6, I believe they were, 6-6 towards, you know, more than halfway down the stretch. They won the championship again with that same core. What
mm.
do the Bandits do again this year? They don't overcomplicate. They simplify. They bring back everybody again. That is what the Bandits are doing with their roster right now. This is what a lot of these teams in the major four sports should be doing. Baseball, basketball, hockey, football. If you win the title one year, why do you have to overcomplicate? Why do you have to bring in this guy because this is going to make our team even better, blah blah blah. I get it if you were maybe in the Super Bowl and you lost, you want to bring some of those key pieces back but you want to add on to that. I get that. But if you're a championship team, don't F with winning. That's the worst thing you can do. And what the Bandits don't do, they don't F with winning. When they win, they say, this is how you do it. If other teams don't like it, well, they're gonna have to prove that they have to beat us. But because we're gonna do the same thing over and over until you guys finally have an answer. And once you find that answer, we'll make some changes.
Yep, and you don't ever have to really make so many changes too. I mean, yes, they got rid of some names that we've had, like two of the Robinson brothers that we got rid of. Um, but they bring Thomas Whitey and they get the Lucas Nielsen in to fill the void. I didn't really see Lucas out there as much. Maybe he was there just to warm up and he didn't get dressed for the game. I
I
don't
think it was
know.
a healthy scratch.
He was a healthy scratch along with Sam LaRue as well. So
Yep.
again, it depends on how you get your feet wet and with the way the players are set. But Johnny T, like you said, he always has a plan. He makes a statement for everybody, and everybody follows it. And look what happens. Winning continues to grow when you have a great mindset and also a great plan going into a game. Johnny T is that plan, and if you can't beat Johnny T, you're not going to beat the plan. And that's what
Right.
exactly the Bandits are proven time and time again. How the offense is clicking, the defense is stopping the opposing offense, and our goaltending is just supernatural at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I
even
remember.
whatever the age is for Matt Vince, like I said, but you got to beat them to beat them. That's the only way. And like you said, you don't have to change nothing. If it's not broke, don't fix it. If it's not losing, keep winning. But
Right.
until that little bit of crack, that little bit of open window, and somebody says, "Well, I found a way. I found your weakness," then you make your changes. I
Right. And
agree.
then I remembered at Cobblestone one time talking to Chase Fraser, and I said, I think this is probably after the Georgia game last year.
Mhm.
I was like, what was your mindset after winning the 2023 title, something like that? Like, how long was the celebration, and when was it like, okay, time to kick it into high gear, get ready for the next season? He said, we celebrated for a few weeks, but then after that, the mindset was, okay, we won. What do we have to do now? Screw it. Let's just keep winning. That was what he said. He's like, you know what? I've never been in this position before as a player. This is my first title winning. This is all new to me. What all I can do now is just have that mindset of, well, everybody's coming back. Let's keep winning. And what did they do in 2024? They kept winning. It wasn't as easy. I'm not saying 2023 was an easy path. You look at a
Mhm.
14-4 record um blindly and you say they won 14 games out of 18. What are you talking about? How is that not easy? You know how many of those games were in overtime and how many of those games the Bandits had to come back in the second half? That was no championship in any league is easy. 2024 was even harder.
Yes,
Losing
it was.
7 games and going 6-7, losing to Panther City, losing to Vancouver, losing to Georgia, getting swept by Albany in the regular season. That was not easy whatsoever. But they find ways to win and they don't change anything. That is what I love about this team. They have that old school mentality. Don't F with winning. That's the worst thing that you can do with a sports team. And I always say, be careful what you wish for. Whenever I hear a fan say, oh, we can upgrade this position with this guy, listen, we won 2 titles with this core. Don't F with winning. And the Bandits, I applaud them because that is the attitude, that's the mindset that they brought into week 2 and into their first game of the 2025 season with a big 15-7 win over the Knighthawks in Banditland East.
Yeah. I think it's time that we get into our player of the game. What do you think?
Ooh, player of the See, we always have this problem on our show, and it's always a great problem to have. What player can you possibly choose? Uh, I mean, Dane Smith does this at nauseum. It feels like where he can put up a silent 10 or maybe a silent double digit night. So that I think that would be too much of a layup for me. I'm going to go with the guy who not only hit a historical milestone in his career, but jumped out of the gates with a hat trick on the season. Give me number 91, Kyle Buchanan, the biggest difference maker in that fourth quarter. Really helped put the Nighthawks away, and finally hitting 600 points. That's big for Kyle Buchanan's career.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was very awesome to hear that he was coming back, especially for maybe his final tour year, if that's what you want to
His
call it.
farewell tour,
But
yeah.
honestly, Kyle Buchanan plays like he's back in his prime again. The way how he comes out and he scores a hat trick in the fourth, like the first three quarters were basically all about getting to the loose balls and setting up the plays and getting things going for the offense. But it felt probably good for him to actually score goals and contribute, even he with his continued ways of like making sure the offense stays on the floor as long as possible, and he just beats you to those the loose balls and the little battles that you need to win. And you know what? Kudos to him for for his career 600 plus now season that you said.
And he takes a
And
beating every single
he is a
night too.
workhorse. That
Yep.
guy deserves to be probably the next MVP if he keeps this rate up.
Oh yeah, easily.
But for me, my go-to guy, and it's I can name every single defenseman you can name, but honestly, I have to go with their former player, and that is Paul Dawson.
Yep.
Dawson, to me, when he walked out of once the victory was over and they were going back into their locker room, and he was screaming, "I love this! I love this! I love this!" It means he's not going anywhere soon. He says it might be his final year when at the party in the plaza when we won our second title when it was his first as a bandit, and he says, "I'm not going nowhere." I got a mentality feeling that he's not going to leave lacrosse for a very long time. I think him and Vince stay for at least another 2 3 years after this because his heart is in the right place. His mindset is intact. And boy, oh boy, I'm telling you that bringing him on board was probably the best decision that Dietrich has made to bring him on board for the
Oh,
Bandits.
so good. And it only
So good on
cost
defense.
what 2 second round picks to bring him in, and he's been at a huge. He was the fix. He was the missing puzzle piece to the defense last year, and
Yes,
it
I
showed.
completely agree with that
It
statement.
was. I
That
mean,
is huge.
the defense took a complete 180 last year, and this year they look pretty locked down, pretty shut down as well. Honestly, honorable mention to Dane Smith, Matt Vince. I mean, we already talked about those two, but I mean, we talk about Matt Vince every show. We pretty much talk
Yeah,
about all positive things about Matt Vince every single show. I don't think you'll find bigger Matt Vince supporters than me and you. There probably are out there. I mean, the Bandits community goes across the nation, across the continent, up into Canada and stuff too. So there's probably a diehard Matt Vince fan out there that's pumping his fist that we're showing him love. And I don't know, dude. Honorable mentions too. Teok and Anakoke was good. A lot of
yeah,
these players were good. Chris Kluche made some great plays, took some
yes,
great
he did.
shots. Shout out Dane Smith with a left-handed shot from the restraining line that went top shelf. That was a great goal to see
Hmm.
as well. And I mean, this is just a complete team. And I don't think the transitions get credit enough. Nick Weiss
No,
laying the boom on these players. Ian McKay on a full-on sprint, taking it up the floor as fast as he can. I don't think those players get enough credit as they should. This is not an easy game to play. It's very fast-paced, and everything's timed. And they have to all do this on the fly. And the Bandits have been doing this consistently well since at least 2019. And then even before that, I mean, they had a couple outlier years here and there, but the Bandits, as long as I've been a fan, I've been going to games since 2006. They've had a very rich history of good product, putting a good product out on the field. And nothing has changed really outside of maybe a couple outlier years and a couple retooling years that the team has been through. But we mentioned it last offseason. This is a dynasty. This is how a dynasty should open up their season with a big 8 goal victory over their rivals.
yeah, and especially how you go forward from here, especially now that your next game is going to be a tougher task. Every game is going to be tough from here on in. Ottawa's next, then we come back home for our banner raising against our little brother again, Rochester. But
Yeah, they're
one
coming
game at
right
a
back.
time.
Yep.
That's all I got to say is one game at a time. You got to just take it as is and just focus on the next team. That's pretty much it.
And keep in mind, the power play is going to keep on shooting. Power play goals are going to go in. Don't
Yes,
worry
they will.
about it at all. No fan should be overreacting on the power play. And if you
Nope.
remember last
None.
year, I mean, we had some early struggles on the power play last year, especially on the no, we had no problem scoring on a 2-minute power play. Once we were granted a 5-minute major, that's when the Bandits couldn't score. They've been kind of weird on the special teams the last couple years, but hey, it didn't stop them from winning a championship. I'll tell you that. But they're gonna
That's
figure it
right.
out. They're gonna figure out their ways. They got 17 more of these regular season games. They got plenty of time. And
Every game is exciting.
if there were a game though, it's I mean, I could already smell a trap game going up against the Ottawa Black Bears because the old Riptide. We said this at nauseum last year, and even the year before that on this show, they saved their best lacrosse when they're facing against the Buffalo Bandits. So those
That's true.
it's always back and forth. It's a pretty good rivalry those two have with those two teams. If you can even call it a rivalry, I personally think it is with the Bandits and the Ottawa Black Bears
Well,
now.
we'll have
But
to wait and see.
yeah, Tony, big 15-7 victory in the Rochester War Memorial at Blue Cross Arena. Huge win, starting off 1-2. That says score predictions. That's the wrong one. We already know the score of the game. I wanted to find this one. Shout out to our sponsors, Tony. Hit him with a sponsor.
You got it. First, we'd like to thank our main sponsor is Mitchell's Tavern, located at 734 Sheridan Drive up in Tonawanda. Guys, if you haven't checked out the food or the service there, believe me when I say this, the food is fantastic. The service is even better. Go up there and check it out and mention us, the boys from Banditland Boulevard, Trevor Hauer, myself, Tony LaMonica, and tell them, look, they told us to come up here and try it, and I'm going to guarantee you guys, you're not going to be disappointed. Also, we'd like to thank our other sponsor is Herney's Journeys. Guys, if you want to book your next cruise line or trip or vacation, please contact Suzanne Pike at SuzannePike@Herney'sJourneys.com. Let us book your next big adventure. Also, we'd like to thank those who are watching us on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to our channel. It's Banditland Boulevard. Obviously, you know who we are now because you see us live on camera. And we'd
Right
also
here.
like to thank those for listening in on Spotify. Um, Please make sure to listen to us on your cell phone devices, your tablets, known to man, car, radio, you can name it. All right. But give us that 5-star rating and talk about all about Buffalo Bandits lacrosse.
Very easy. Very nice. Very well said, too. Bandits
Thank
are
you.
1-0 on the season, and I am fired up going into this Friday. They actually flexed the game to Friday against the Ottawa Black Bears. We'll have the preview out here
Yep.
sometime towards the I don't know what, maybe a day or two before the game. But dude, we got 3 words to say signing off
Yes,
this
we do.
show
And it's
after a
always the ending of our show because believe me
after
when we say this, guys,
win
and
lose.
Banditland, help us out when we say this, okay?
Yeah, you
Okay,
guys,
three
if you're in your
three
car, if you're
words.
watching it, say it with
Three
us.
words.
3 words.
Ready? Let's
Let's go,
go
Bandit.
Bandits.
Let's
1 and
go.
0 to start the season. Here we come, Ottawa.
Let's go 2-0. Let's go.